Dr. Morse, today you're analyzing 5 different learning experience videos for us. Can you please summarize for us the third video?
Well, the third video is a high school mathematics video where teacher Brian C. is conducting a lesson on the Pythagorean theorem using his interactive whiteboard.
Based on the H.E.A.T rubric, how would you rate the higher order thinking represented in this learning experience?
Based on the H.E.A.T rubric, I rated the level of student cognition as a 2, meaning that students were learning questioning at the knowledge level related to the Pythagorean theorem, and basically were following the teacher's step-by-step approach to learning how to solve a proof.
How would you rate the engaged learning criteria for this learning experience?
Related to engaged learning, I rated the engaged learning as a 1, meaning that the students were individually responding back to the teacher within a teacher-centered learning environment.
How would you rate the authentic connections represented by this lesson?
I thought the authenticity was slightly higher. I rated it as a 2, which means that the learning experience represents a group of connected activities, but there's really no real-world application tied to the concept of the Pythagorean theorem.
How would you rate the use of technology?
I thought the use of the technology tools was quite high. I rated it a 5, meaning that technology is directly connected to task completion involving one or more applications.
Since the 4 H.E.A.T components represent the student output of a lesson and the LoTi level represents the teacher input for a lesson, what would you say is the current LoTi level of this lesson?
The current LoTi level of the Pythagorean theorem lesson was a LoTi 2 because the focus in terms of using technology by the teacher, where the students were using the digital responders, was primarily at the knowledge level of Bloom's taxonomy.
What would you recommend if this teacher wanted to raise the LoTi level for this lesson?
Well, I thought it was interesting when we looked at the formative assessment that was done to assess the students' understanding of their knowledge related to the Pythagorean theorem. There was a large majority of students that actually indicated that they knew how to solve these proofs. So to bump it up to a higher LoTi level would be looking at some way that the students would be applying the Pythagorean theorem to a real-world situation, such as building a deck or designing a structure on campus that would prompt them to apply the Pythagorean theorem to a real-world situation.
Do you feel like the LoTi level of this lesson as taught is appropriate?
I think the LoTi level of this lesson as taught was appropriate for those students that really do not have an understanding of the Pythagorean theorem or how to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve specific proofs. However, those students that already have an understanding of the Pythagorean theorem, I believe that they needed to have some type of opportunity to be able to apply the Pythagorean theorem in a real-world situation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.